Hello, everyone, and thanks for listening today. I'm interviewing Steve,
Hey, mate.
but I'm not interviewing Steve as a trainer. I'm going to interview Steve as a member. Some of you may or may not know, before Steve became one of Break-Thru Active's trainer, he was actually one of our first ever members at our Kurri Kurri location. Isn't that right?
That is absolutely correct. That's spot on. Yeah.
And what people don't know, and I love telling them, is at one point you were 38 kilos heavier.
Hey, that's correct. Yep.
And I think sometimes people can look at you or me or Mitchell Brody or anyone that's in relatively good shape, and they think, oh, he's always been like that.
Oh, for sure. It's been a huge journey that hasn't just happened overnight. It's taken a bit of time and commitment. And
Yeah, and it's funny because most people see the view from the mountaintop, they don't see the climb.
yeah,
And
that's exactly right.
and the climb took well over 12 months for you.
It's still to this day. Like
Yeah,
it's just an ongoing thing.
absolutely. Okay, Steve, so let's recap, I guess, your experience as a member and when you first got started. So me and you met each other. And when I met you originally, I didn't actually want you down the boot camp.
Hold on. Why is
That's
that?
the truth, because we started to develop a friendship, and
Yeah,
I don't like mixing worlds together.
I get it.
And you asked me what it was, and then I had to tell you. And you thought,
Yep.
you know what, I'm going to come down and give that a try.
Yeah,
And I believe you and Darcy came down for one of our 21-day challenges.
that's correct.
Cool. So we're in this filthy shed behind a mechanic in Kurri Kurri. It's your first session. You walk in. How are you feeling?
So the 21-day boot camp challenge was actually my second session. My first session was you told me that I could come down just to see like how it all was, and I remember I still remember it was a partner workout, which is great, which is perfect for when you're first starting out, and I got partnered with Angelica Shoot.
Yep, Angelica.
Yeah, and I remember doing some bug crawls, and I can also remember doing some wall sits. And I just remember I thought, it should be okay, because like I was looking around and I was like, okay, like these people are older than me. I should be pretty sweet, because at that time I was lifting weights but eating like shit, and I was just so unconditioned. And I was just like, oh, I still should be all right. Like it's okay. Like, but
I
I went down
distinctly,
there and
I distinctly remember saying, mate, like, take it easy. Like,
yeah, but
we were
me being
fine.
me, just
Yeah.
bullet the gate. I was just like, nah, she'll be right. Like, we'll be right here. And I remember just getting stuck into it. And after about 10 minutes, after doing X amount of bug crawls, I was in a world of hurt. And I remember trying to hold a wall sit, and there was like ladies around me that were like 45, 50-year-old. And they were just wall sitting like it was absolutely nothing. I was on the wall for 10 seconds just going, how's this possible? I was in a world of hurt.
They were just doing a wall sit, having a yarn.
And I was struggling. I was hurting. Like my legs were literally on fire, and I felt so sick. And I just remember the end of that session, I had to pull up, and I was sitting on the stairs, because remember you had those stairs that
Yeah.
went up to wherever. Yeah, well, I was on the steps, and I remember you coming over like, mate, it's okay. Like this happens. Like these things happen. I was just pissed off at myself. I was like, oh man, this is no good. So. But then the 21-day challenge came around, and lo and behold, there I was again. And I remember that it was the boxing session, and boxing's obviously very difficult. And here I am just going bananas, punching away. And again, same thing happened. 10, 15 minutes later, I was out the front. There was a water tank just outside the shed. And I went around the water tank and had a bit of a spew. And I was not feeling good there either. So that was my first two sessions were, yeah, they weren't they weren't good.
That's our biggest fear. Like, because I told you 25 times, mate, take it easy. It's going to be okay. It's not about today. It's about day 21 and beyond. And you were just so confident.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, it'll be fine, mate. It'll be right. And then, like sometimes the she'll be right mentality is wrong, and she will not be right.
It's a bit of a reality check, because if you were playing NRL 3 years ago, you were doing footy training and you thought this is going to be easy. Like, I've done this before. I'm already lifting weights, but it's just completely different. And I think probably the biggest thing was like, since your footy days, like how much weight had you put on at
Oh,
that point?
probably by that point, probably 25 kilos.
So when you started down at the boot camp, how much did you weigh?
I remember when I first started the 21-day challenge. I think I was like maybe like 100. I think I was 137 kilos.
Okay, and when you, I guess, reached out to us and asked about the challenge, were you not feeling great about yourself? Did you realize something had to change? Like, I guess, what sparked your interest in the challenge?
Honestly, I think it was just the amount of like buzz that the boot camp was getting around Curry at the time. It was going bananas. The biggest thing since the Beatles, eh? It was crazy.
It was popular.
Yeah, well, it was. I was just like, shit. Like, everyone's talking about this boot camp. I was like, damn. Like, I'm gonna have to get amongst it here. But the 2 sessions, that was probably the big reality check. That was a wake up call because prior to that, I didn't think I was too bad because I was 6'4", and I guess you can't almost get away with it, but I've got a relatively big build anyway, and like I sort of didn't think I was too bad, but then looking back on photos now, I'm like, what was I thinking? So
even when you told me how much you weighed, I was really surprised because you did hold your weight very well.
yeah.
So I guess throughout that process, when you realized just how unfit you were or maybe overweight that you were, how did that make you feel?
Oh, yeah, that made me feel like shit, hey, to be honest. It really did. It made me feel like shit because I thought of myself at that period, at that point, I was like, yeah, I'm a pretty big, strong lad. And I was just, and then I was just like, damn, like the first 2 sessions, realizing how unfit and unconditioned I was, that made me feel pretty, it made me feel low, but it didn't make me feel like, all was lost. I was very, very determined to turn it around.
And I guess that feeling of, I guess, was it embarrassment in the session? Was it embarrassment of how you let yourself go? Or was it just the feeling that something had to change?
I think it was embarrassment in the session, and something needed to change. It was the combination of the two, because I was pretty embarrassed in that first session. I was like how is this how has this happened? And then obviously that's the, like, coming to that realization, that's the turning point for where I was like, okay, something's got to change here. That's it.
So you came back for session 3 and beyond. And I guess how long was it until you started to see progress in regards to your health and fitness?
Not too long in regards to like my conditioning getting a little bit better. I'd say it was probably a few weeks, and I felt like I was able to get through the workouts better. And then it was really when I spoke to yourself and Mitch about food choices, that's when it really started to change for me, because I remember initially I was still coming to all the boot camp sessions, and I was as consistent as anything. I was probably turning up more than any other member. I think I came 1 week like 10 times. It was like something ridiculous.
Yeah, I remember that. You were training twice a day sometimes. You had some time, and then you weren't getting, I guess, the result on the scales. And we see it all the time where, like, members will try and do more and more and more sessions or reach this astronomical step count, and they offset that just by eating more. And what tends to happen is, like, at some point, all that training stress will catch up with you. You might end up with a bit of an overuse injury. You have time off the gym, but the eating continues, and you actually go backwards.
Yeah, that's for sure. That makes heaps of sense. I remember at the point I thought I was making better choices, but I was still, it was just the amounts of the food that I was eating. And yeah, it wasn't until I really spoke with yourself and Mitch about, like, food choices and what has to change there to get the results, because I remember like a week after I started the challenge, I was like a kilo heavier, and I was just fuming. And I was fuming, and then I was like, what's going on here? And then we really had to hone it in.
When you were 140, what were you eating? Like, what was your typical day of food? I often think that, like, when
Yeah.
someone comes to us and they're overweight, I'm like, what are they eating? Like, what are their habits? Because when we ask the question, they're like, oh, I eat all right. And then
Mate,
we dig and dig and dig to get the actual answer.
so I'd be having like 10 wheat bix.
It's a lot.
It's true. Like I'd have to so again, you know,
You're a Weet-Bix kid. They're healthy.
yeah, that's exactly right. It's exactly right. And then, you know, we've spoken about this before, but the old the old Coles Tiger rolls. I was a massive fan of the Tiger rolls with like smoked salmon on it, but I was like nailing the smoked salmon, like tons of it. Like I'm talking like stupid amount on these Tiger rolls. But another thing I was having every day, and it was like a massive thing, was energy drinks.
So like full strength, full sugar energy drinks.
Yeah, I was having minimum 2 cans of Mother a day, minimum.
And they're the big ones, right?
They're the big ones, mate.
500 mils or something.
They're the big ones. Liter a day. It was no good.
So when at that point you thought you were, I guess, somewhat eating healthy, did you not understand like calories in regards to the drinks? Did you not understand that too much of anything, i.e. salmon's a bad thing? Like where was the, I guess, breakdown for you?
I personally just thought I was making okay choices, and I was eating the right foods, and I didn't really think that like eating too much of it was a bad thing, or like it would result in me like still putting on weight. And I just thought the cans of drink was just the cans of drink. It was almost like naive to it all.
Yeah, those videos I've been making, it's just a cookie a day. Like for you, it was just a can a day.
That's it. I didn't think it was too detrimental to my progress, but yeah, it certainly was, and I can't remember what I was having for dinner or whatever, but I'm assuming it would have been like a huge size, like a big size, and it was just the weight was just staying the same and just going up a little bit by bit each week.
So you were training, you weren't getting results, you were fuming, you weighed 138, you weren't happy. What was the change? Like we had a chat about nutrition, but the following day, what did you put into action?
I just remember talking with yourself and Mitch, and then I thought that's spot on. You gave me a little bit of a rundown about a few things. I remember you handed me, like, you sent me a sheet with like a nutrition guide and stuff like that, and I started following it a little bit more and just cutting down this and that, and then from there I just saw big changes early, and then obviously the big change you get addicted to that, and then I just got addicted to it, and knowing that I was on the right path, I was like, there's no other choice but to stay on this path. And
yeah, and that's really important. Like for someone to see a quick change and get a quick win. So you started following the plan. What was that first quick win?
I think the first quick win was something like I think I might have lost like 1.5 kilos or something in a week.
That first week.
Yeah, and I thought, damn, that's like this is working. So. And then from there, I just thought, well, if this is working, I'll just stick with this. And then week by week, it just kept happening. And then, lo and behold, a year later, the journey's not done, but the journey's like I've come a long way.
Yeah, 38 kilos. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty huge.
And I guess what was the biggest thing you learned in regards to, I guess, changing your nutrition? Like, what principles do you still use today to, I guess, maintain your weight or try to build muscle?
I think my biggest thing, because I'm still a bit of a sweet tooth in that, I just think that it's okay to still have this stuff, but you just can't be having it day in day out. Like it can't be a 7-day-a-week thing. Like if like a can of Mother's a bad example, but let's say if you wanted to have I don't know, you want to say you want to have a Mars bar or something, or a couple of Mars bars. If you had 2 Mars bars in one day and that was it, that's not going to kill you. But if you had 2 Mars bars for 7 days, that's probably going to have a long-term effect on like whether you lose weight or gain weight.
Yeah, and more often than not, it's just a few things that people are doing that are wrong. I.e. for you, it was the enormous portion sizes and just the cans of Mother. So even if you didn't follow that plan I gave you and you just reduced the intake of that, you still would have lost weight.
Yeah.
Right? And I think as you start to lose weight and you follow the plan, then you start to work out, I guess, realize the principles behind nutrition and realize that like a can of mother isn't the end of the world. It's just
No.
every single day.
Yeah, that's 100%. That's exactly right. I think damn, if you guys saw the copious amounts of smoked salmon I was eating at one point in time, woo, it was like it was literally like the ocean. It was crazy. It was a lot of smoked salmon.
So you're 140 kilos. You do that first session. You're extremely embarrassed.
Mm-hmm.
Now 104 kilos, and you're a trainer.
Yeah.
How does that feel?
Oh,
And I'll re-ask that question. Like, why did you want to become a trainer? And how does it feel helping others go on that same journey?
well, I initially, like when I was a teenager, I really just wanted to help assist people or like make people better themselves in some way. So that's just always been, I think that's just always been in me. Like that's just always been a part of me. And then whilst I was going through this journey, I was like, shit, like if anybody's gonna, like, people are gonna listen to me because I've walked in those shoes, right? So that was a big turning point there as well. And I remember like early on, I think I'd maybe lost about 10 kilos or something like that. And I was still 127 kilos. And even then I thought to myself, you know, I might actually go down this path just purely because I enjoyed the training. You know, I enjoyed the idea of keeping fit, and I enjoyed the idea of, you know, being a mentor or being somebody that people look up to. And yeah, and now today, like fast forward how many years? What, 3 years? Yeah,
Yeah.
3 years. Fast forward 3 years, and I still feel the exact same way today as I did 3 years ago in here, like in the sense of maybe like not right at the start, obviously, but like in the sense of I'm still passionate about helping people like get to their goals, helping people just feel better about themselves, and just creating an environment where people want to come into those doors. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I guess it's just so important that we all remember when you're 140 kilos and you first walk into that gym, you're probably not feeling the best.
yeah,
And you probably feel like you're being judged and people are watching you. And it's just our job to provide the environment where it's just so safe and comfortable for that person.
yeah. I think that's probably where I take the biggest pride in my work. I think that's probably number one. I think it's always sort of been my number one priority, is purely because I've been in their shoes. And it's funny because like from the outside looking in, that people wouldn't think that. They'd just think, oh, okay, like he's always been a pinnacle of health. You know what I mean? Like I've always been this person. But yeah, that's where I take the biggest pride in, just making sure that you know people are welcomed and people aren't feeling judged, and you know people like there is a great environment for people to come into, and I want them to walk out knowing that you know they have felt welcomed and they have felt comfortable, and I want them to keep coming back. Like I genuinely want them to keep coming back.
Yeah, and you lost 38 kilos. Like it's possible. And you are an example of that changing your life through health and fitness is possible. And I feel as though that when people have tried and failed many, many times, they just actually lose belief that health and fitness is going to work for them.
Yeah,
And
I agree. I fully agree, because at times like I was like that too. Like there were many times in the past where I thought, yeah, shit, I wouldn't mind losing like 5 kilos here and there, and then I'd lose a little bit and then put a bit on, and it was just by that time, as well as the fact that I was probably getting a little bit comfortable in life, it's just a recipe to just balloon out of control, I think.
yeah, and the other thing too is when you first came to, I guess, the boot camp, you were like 27, is that right?
26.
26. So imagine being 138 kilos and being 46, and just
Yeah.
how much harder that would be with a serious injury.
Oh yeah.
It's just so important that like if you're in your 20s, you haven't got kids, you've got the time, like now is the best time to do it.
Yeah, I fully agree with you, 100%. Because yeah, obviously the more you get on, then the more injuries occur, and it would be a little bit harder. And also just like time as well, right? Like time's a big thing, but I think in all honesty, if you're having any thoughts or concerns about not coming, just come. That's the biggest advice I could probably give somebody is literally just walk in the door.
Yeah, attendance almost fixes every issue.
Yeah, and just staying consistent with it. And I think another thing is just open up in regards to like any struggles that you actually might be having, because you know I never used to like being vulnerable, and still to this day I'm still like that in a sense where I don't like letting people know that, you know, like I need a bit of help here. You know what I mean? So if you can open up and even say like I said to yourself and Mitch, I said like maybe it's the nutrition side of things, and you know we looked at it. Yeah, actually it is the nutrition side of things, and then from there, you know, the results came.
Well, that's part of having a coach, and like just having that open dialogue. We can pretty quickly work out what's going wrong. And at that point, it clearly wasn't your attendance. It was the tiger rolls and mothers.
Because I was like, I can still remember my attendance was just next level, and I was busting my ass. Like I was busting my ass, and I was just like, shit, like I'm busting my ass, and you know, I'm eating all this smoked salmon, and it's real good. I'm having my 10 wheat bix, and I'm feeling great. Yeah. But like nothing was happening. So yeah, it's just the little things you just got to hone in.
So losing 38 kilos, I want you to, I guess, what is the one thing that's changed for you physically? And what is the one thing that's changed for you mentally? Going from the person who weighed 140 kilos to where you are now, being confident and happy with your fitness.
So mentally, it would be finding a purpose in life. That's pretty deep, but it's the truth. Yeah, probably finding a purpose, because I've always sort of, I guess when I was growing up, I was a little bit of a floater. I was a bit like, I was over here, then I was over here, and I was just sort of like, it was like a whirlwind. Like I didn't know where I was going to end up. I was like, just going around and around. And then I think just sort of always having that, as I said, always having that, that wants to help others in a certain situation or better their lives or something like that. That like I was able to see that I could do that in this line of work, right? So I'd probably say it's like giving me a solid purpose. That's probably been the biggest thing, and the fact that, you know, I like the fact that I would be seen as a role model to people, and I like the fact that people, like, regardless of whatever happens, like people are looking up to me. That's the biggest thing, right? People looking up to me. So I think mentally, like all our members, people might not know this, but all our members are my biggest motivator when it comes to everyday like training and nutrition. Because I think to myself every day, even days where I think, oh, like I'm struggling here, I want to be the best possible role model for those people. So that's probably the biggest thing mentally for me.
Yeah, and it's important that we lead by example. And the fact that you've lost 38 kilos, literally doing our program and following our nutrition principles, is a great example.
Yeah.
What would your advice be for an overweight guy who's not very confident, who's unsure of what to do, who wants to lose weight? What would your number one piece of advice be to him?
Just come through the door. Just try and get up and just get through our doors. That's as simple as it gets. Like, because I know that for a fact that if you walk through the door, I feel like, again, you're gonna find it pretty hard to find somewhere that is as welcoming as our gym. Like I truly believe that. I'm not just saying that just because, you know, I'm a part of Break-Thru Active or whatever. That's God's honest truth, hand to heart, right? So
we can't guarantee results, but we're pretty annoying with our follow-up and accountability.
100%. Like, and if you honestly don't feel like that you're cared and looked after here, good luck finding another place. I'm serious. I'm serious though. Like, that's the truth.
And I guess like that conviction comes from when we cared about you.
Well, yeah, like, and again, like the community aspect of it was a big thing for me. Like I can still remember Scott Grant, for example. Like Scott's a legend. Like and I'll always remember like Scott like just coming up to me and shaking my hand and saying, "Oh, hey mate, like it's gonna be all right." And I can. Scott Grant almost reminds me of Corey Harrison a little bit. Like Corey would do that. Like Corey would say, "Oh, hey, like it's gonna be all right." Like so, our members are really good in that sense, and I feel like you'll be like literally welcome with open arms straight away. So my biggest advice is to not wait and just walk in the door. As simple as that, as simple as silly as that sounds, just walk in the door and find out yourself.
Yeah, and I guess just like, being 38 kilos overweight, I even forget you weigh that much.
Yeah, I know.
Right? Yeah. And I just think that like we all have our own struggles and battles, and you're forever going to battle with the scales. Not like you used to, but you're forever going to be mindful of like doing the right thing to be an example for our members, and to also just like not return to that place.
Yeah, I can agree with that somewhat, purely because there was like for a long time I didn't really worry about the scales too much. I was pretty happy with like the way I was looking, and like I think a lot of it, like I think with the scales, like you can feel great and this and that, and you can look great, but then as soon as you have a specific like number in mind that you think you are, and if you are a little bit heavier than that, then it's like the world's about to end, when that just should not be the case at all. So I think just the biggest thing for me is I'm always going to want to be a consistent role model all the time for every single member, and I want them to look up to me. So again, they're always going to be that the biggest motivator for me day in, day out, I think.
How many members do you think know that you were actually a member for 2 years and that you lost 38 kilos?
I'm going to say maybe 50.
Because I think it's a great story that our members should hear.
Yeah.
You literally went through the exact same process they're going through now. Mm-hmm. And so did Diana.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's, I think it should be spoke about more, because like if they can see that I've walked in their shoes, well then they're more inclined to stick with it.
Yeah, and the fact that you've kept that weight off for 3 years and counting now, because the goal isn't to lose weight, the goal is to lose weight and keep it off forever. Mm-hmm. Both you and Di are the perfect examples of that.
Yeah, I actually said to Di the other day, it's actually funny that you said that. I said that like what Di and I are cut from the same cloth in a sense. And I feel like our mentality to the health and fitness is exactly the same. Like we're just always sort of, striving day in, day out to be a role model for others. But I think also I think the pair of us just fell in love with the whole thing. I think that's it as well. So yeah, it's definitely a story that needs to be told. That's for sure. I think more members should know.
Absolutely, and it's just important sometimes for you guys to be vulnerable, including myself, Mitch, and Brody, because like we all have our struggles, every single one of us. And I think sometimes people think trainers aren't even human, that we just absolutely love chicken and broccoli and exercise. And it couldn't be further from the truth.
And that's why is that why we tell the members about the UFC days?
Absolutely, buys and gems. But it's just the same way our members try and show up every day and be their best. We do too. And we have really bad days sometimes. We have days we don't exercise. But more importantly, we don't have that second or third or fourth day we don't exercise. It's just constantly getting back on the wagon.
Yeah, that's 100% in. I couldn't agree more. And yeah, again, like if anybody out there is listening to this and is like wondering whether or not to walk in the door, just walk in the damn door. I promise you'll be very, very well looked after, and you'll feel at home straight away. Awesome, mate. I really appreciate your time today. Anything else for members? I think that's it, mate. I think I've covered it. I think I've said all I've needed to say, and if anybody has any questions, you can ask me in the gym. Yeah, they got your phone number. They do. All right, mate. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thanks, mate.
Bye.